Hi there, it's Bilal from itvarsity.org and continuing my series of lessons on PHP. Now today we're going to look at for loops in PHP. For loops, just like while loops, are used to repeat certain sections of code. But the difference with for loops, you can say, is that for loops are a little more compact than while loops. So today we're going to look at how to do for loops in PHP. So let's get down to it. In this lesson, we're going to learn about for loops. Now, for loops, like while loops, are loops also. They repeat certain sections of code. But for loops, you can say, are a more compact version of loops. Okay, let's get coding. Before we do, let's make a new file. Go to the File menu, click on New File, select PHP file. Next, we're going to call this for loops. Again, paying attention to your file naming convention. We're using camel case there, and you hit finish. Okay, let's put in our close PHP tag so we don't forget later. Let's get coding our for loop. So the for loop starts with the keyword for, and we initialize our variable. Now you'll notice something about the for loop. Unlike the while loop, where everything was taking place in different lines, in the for loop everything is happening in just one compact line. $count is less than equals to 5. $count plus plus is a typo there. And we're going to echo the exact same thing that we did in the previous file. Let's go back there. We said counter colon. Well, I'm just going to copy this line. It's identical. All right. Echo counter colon $count and then a line break. Now let's compare these two files, the while loops and the for loops. Now in the while loops, you notice that we initialized the $count variable up there. In the for loops, there's no separate variable declaration and initialization. It all happens right there inside of the loop. The second thing is we got our loop condition. $count is less than equal to 30. Here, the loop condition is inside there again. And finally, we've got the increment or decrement operator, which either increases or decreases the amount, and it's right there. So we've taken everything and we've compacted it into just one line. So we've compressed 3 lines into one. Okay, let's save this and head to our browser. Now remember the name, forloops.php. In the browser, you can either open this up in a new tab, or you can simply run it in the same tab as your previous program, forloops.php, and there we go. We've got our code counting from 1 to 5. Awesome stuff. Now let's do some exciting things with this. Let's say we wanted to count to 10. We simply change the loop condition to say less than equals to 10. Now you may be wondering, why do we say less than equals to and not less than? Now let's see what happens when we go with just less than. Now this is almost identical except that we're using less than instead of less than equals to. Let's save that, refresh, and you see what happened there? Instead of counting until 10, it counted until 9. Why is this? The answer is very simple. PHP is going to keep looping through this this line as long as the value of count is less than 10. So 9 is still less than 10. The moment the value of count becomes 10 or more than 10, then PHP is not going to loop through the statement anymore. It's going to stop right there and jump to the end and end of script. So if you want to include the final number, which in our case is 10, into your loop, then ensure that you put in the equals to sign. All right, let's test this again in the browser. And there we go, back to counting all the way to 10. Now this doesn't only apply to the for loops, it also applies to the while loops. Back to the while loops, while $count, you can see we got less than equals to 30. If we wanted to count to 29 and not include 30, then you simply you'll remove the equals to sign and just have the less than sign. Now this type of counting will be useful in certain situations like when you're iterating through an array, but we'll come to that at a later stage. Some exciting stuff coming up there. Okay, what are we going to do next? Now with the while loops, we looked at counting from a number to another number. Can we change the from number from 1 to something else? Of course we can. So the from number now will be 6 and the to number will be 10. So PHP will count from 6 to 10. Refresh, 6 to 10. Can we count in increments of other numbers besides 1, like 2, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, etc.? Okay, let's count it. Let's count from, this time, let's count from 0 all the way to 10, but in twos. Here again, we'll say count plus equals to 2. Exactly the same as in your while loops. Well, this looks a little neater because of the spaces. Let's leave some spaces there. Clean code is readable code. Well-spaced code is readable code. Remember, it's not for now. You're writing this code for the future you who comes back to read this program. And as long as your code is well-spaced, the future you will be able to read it. You won't be tripping all over yourself. Okay, let's double check our code. Count is equal to 0. Count is less than equals to 10. Count plus equals to 2. This should count from 0 to 10 in twos. Refresh. Perfect. Now let's count backwards. How do we count backwards? Now, if we're counting backwards, we need to identify which is the number we're counting from. So let's do the exact same scenario that we did here, but in reverse. In other words, instead of counting from 0 to 10, we'll count from 10 to 0. In that case, the from number will be set to 10, and the increments will be in 2, except now you're not going to be adding with every loop, you're going to be subtracting. So the first time over, you're going to have 10. When you go through the counter, by the second time you want the counter to say 8, not 12. And the way our code currently stands, you're going to end up with a 12. And count is going to, because count is going to add 2 to your original number. Now how do we change that? Very simple. Change the plus into a minus. Now what will happen here is, by the second time you come into the loop, it will be count is equal to count minus 2. That means 10 minus 2 is equal to 8. So the value of $count will be 8. Now there's one problem remaining with this code here, and that is this line. This is a hidden issue. If you don't take care of this issue, you're going to end up with an infinite loop. What is the issue here? See, this loop condition is checking if the value of $count is less than or equal to 10. And you know what? the way this loop stands, it's always going to be less than or equal to 10. It's always going to be, in fact, less than 10. So let me give you an example. The first time you come into the loop, what is the value of count? It's 10. Is the value less than or equal to 10? Yes, happy days. Let's get into the loop. The second time you come in, it's going to be decremented by 2. So the value of $count is going to be 8. Is 8 less than or equal to 10? Yes, happy days, go into the loop. Third time you come through, it's going to be 6. $count is less than equal to 10, yes or no? Is 6 less than 10? Yes, happy days, go into the loop. 4, 2, 0, -2, -4, -6, -8, all are less than 10. What you're ending up with here is an infinite loop that's counting backwards in 2s. See the problem? Now we're going to fix this problem by simply changing the less than to greater than and the 10 to a 0. Remember, our target number is 0. We're stopping at 0, not 10. So as long as the loop is greater than or equal to 0, we'll continue the loop. The moment it hits the 0 mark, the loop needs to stop, so we don't end up with a terrible, ghastly infinite loop. All right, save and refresh. Here we go. Counting in 2s backwards. So that's your 4 loops, and that pretty much covers everything you need to know about for loops, or everything important that you need to know about for loops.